What if Darth Vader refused to destroy Alderaan? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
No.
The entire control room goes silent as the Dark Lord raises his head and looks at Tarkin. The governor's face wrinkles in surprise, but his staff dare not take any further actions while the Dark Lord is here. Leia mirrors his expression, but there is a hint of relief in her gaze. With that, the walls she has built up begin to crack. Vader is the first to notice that, and to his surprise, he senses something familiar about Leia. It is more than her appearance or demeanor. There is something in the Force about her. This only vindicates his decision as Vader squares his shoulders and crosses his arms.
And why not, Lord Vader?
Because this plan is foolish. You think attacking an Imperial world will bring peace? No. It will only harden the hearts of those who are committed to destroying us, and make them heroes in the eyes of our people.
Then let the people call them heroes. Vigilantes, freedom fighters, or whatever pretentious terms they might refer to themselves as. It might gain them a few more followers, but for every one that joins them, 1,000,000 will choose submission. I am stopping threats before they emerge.
You assume that the war will remain on the periphery, that the Rebel Alliance will remain in the shadows, striking from Blackwater planets, but this weapon will ensure unrest spreads into our territories. War is a virus. It spreads wherever it wishes, even to healthy parts of the body. When it does, you will leave these worlds with little choice, victory or annihilation. You can be certain which ones many systems will choose.
You overestimate the potential of these rebels, Lord Vader. They are yet to win a major victory, and their military strength is nothing compared to the Empire.
That much is true, and yet the Empire squanders its strength on toys like this instead of working towards victory. I will achieve that victory, but until then, Alderaan is not to be touched.
Very well. By all means, Lord Vader. But just remember that should you fail, I will personally inform the Emperor why we were unable to deliver the Death Star plans or test its powers.
Vader says nothing, simply turning at his heel and walking off, leaving the guards to escort Leia back to her cell. But as they reach the hallway, she cannot allow herself to be silent, and forces herself free from the guards.
Wait. Why did you do this then? Why not let him destroy Alderaan?
As I said, to destroy a planet without purpose would bring no benefit to the Empire.
He studies her. The Force swirls around her like a coiled serpent, tense, defensive, brimming with fire. Not trained, but strong. Far too strong for a diplomat's daughter.
You resist well. Your mind is guarded. That requires discipline.
Perhaps your fear keeps you from seeing clearly.
The comment is reckless, and she knows it. But it's calculated. She's trying to provoke him. Instead, it amuses him as Vader steps closer. He looms above her, black armor gleaming under the interrogation lights. The Force hums again. There, in her voice, that sharp edge of righteousness. In her eyes, defiance. Her presence in the Force, bright, conflicted, and wild. A shadow he had long tried to bury, but now rears its head before him, daring to act. Padme. He turns his back on her, letting the guards bring her to her cell. But as she disappears, the Dark Lord returns to his quarters to meditate. He closes his eyes and steadies himself. Tarkin is of little concern to him, but there is one thing on his mind. Princess Leia and her strange presence. She is strong in the Force, much stronger than anyone realizes. Not quite a Jedi Master, but with the right training, there could be potential in her as an apprentice. Yet that does not explain why her presence draws him to her so much. There's something else. He tries to focus on her, studying her slowly. He looks deep into his mind, searching his memories for any signs of her. He spots a few flickers, such as his brief encounter with Obi-Wan, and that should be it. But there is something else. While he originally just recalled encountering his former master, he now thinks back to how protective he was regarding the child. Vader's breath hitches for a fraction of a second. The resemblance is not physical, not overt, but in the Force it's unmistakable. And yet this is Bail Organa's daughter. For a brief moment, Vader entertains the notion that Padme might have cheated on him, but quickly dismisses it. He turns away abruptly, concealing the storm rising behind the mask. A question begins to take root, unspoken. Dangerous. Could she be his? Vader picks up his datapad, pulling up every available file on Bail Organa. Senate records, Alderanian archives, diplomatic logs, and medical scans. Leia's birth records are thin. Too thin. There are no hospital visits associated with Queen Brea during the years of Leia's birth. No recorded pregnancy. No medical procedures. No documentation of royal birth. Just a certificate, conveniently signed with no supporting files. Vader narrows his eyes behind the mask. Adoption. Organa has claimed the girl as his own, but the data says otherwise. The lies are subtle, buried beneath years of doctored records and noble privilege. But Vader sees it now, the threads beginning to unravel. He leans back in silence, the Force swirling around him again. The girl is strong. Too strong. And the way she looked at him, not with fear, but with something deeper. Recognition. No, not yet. But the seed is there. Vader begins to wonder if this is the true reason the Force called him to the Death Star. Not a prisoner, not a rebellion, a daughter. But as he ponders this fact, little does he know the Millennium Falcon is arriving to rescue Leia. The ship is small and manages to slip into the hangar deck without anyone noticing. No one but Vader, as he senses something about that ship. Another presence, familiar as well. The difference is this one he can sense clearly. His old master. Reaching for his lightsaber, the Dark Lord makes his way out, preparing to confront him. As he makes his way out, he hears reports from a security personnel about a firefight in the detention level, the same one where Leia is being held. Yet when he feels for Obi-Wan, he senses him far away. He doesn't join this group of rebels in the prison, but instead heads towards the shields. He pauses for a moment and weighs his options, thinking of which might matter more to him. Instead, he raises his comm and announces he will join them in the break. By the time he arrives, the rebels are pinned down by a squad of stormtroopers. These men advance slowly towards their position, held back by a small group of rebels disguised as guards. Vader ignites his lightsaber and then unleashes a shockwave in the tiny control center. The men barely have time to cry out as they're tossed aside like ragdolls, leaving the guards dead or unconscious. Luke and Han cautiously step out, their blasters trained on Vader, but Leia gestures for them to stop as she glares at the man. Vader glances around and waves his hand over the control panel, deactivating what few security cameras remain.
You? What is it you want?
Is that any way to speak to your savior?
Sorry, how rude. Thanks for saving us. Now, what is it you want?
What I want is the same thing you desire. To prevent the Empire from using this weapon.
And why is that, Lord Vader? Don't tell me it's from the goodness of your heart.
I aided in this empire because I believed it would last 1,000 years. Yet, if the Emperor uses this weapon as Tarkin wishes, it shall be brought to its knees before this decade is finished. We share the same enemy.
Yeah? And what happens after this station is captured?
That is an issue for another time.
He looks over at Luke and feels another spasm running down his spine as he stares at him. It is as if the Force is calling to him. This boy, his presence also feels inexplicably linked to him. For the second time today, Vader is speechless as he looks at him. It is difficult to tell at first, but he sees similarities between himself and the princess. The same kind of eyes as Padme, the same defiance in them, yet also a warmth about them. Before this feeling can overwhelm him, he shakes his head.
Remember, young ones, I know the rebel base. I can come there as an enemy or a friend. I leave that choice up to you.
But as he finishes, he hears the doors open and whirls around. At first, he thinks it is more stormtroopers, but instead finds himself looking at Obi-Wan. The Jedi's hair had long turned white and looked closer to a hermit than a Jedi warrior. But Vader knows better than to underestimate his old master, especially when he ignites his lightsaber. Vader feels an immense power running through the Jedi as he prepares himself for battle. The Dark Lord rushes at him, the lightsaber flashing and slashing him across the chest. Obi-Wan halts this strike and twists back, sending him stumbling. Obi-Wan counters with a downward slash, aimed at his head, though Vader manages to catch it. Their attacks begin to speed up as the two rush at each other.
You're looking well. That armor suits you, but it cannot hide that mark.
Nothing ever will. I see you still haven't learned to be silent.
He advances towards Obi-Wan, unleashing a flurry of attacks on him. But the Jedi moves with surprising speed and continues to stop these attacks, and then counters with a force push that sends Vader skidding back. Glaring, he advances upon the Sith once again, but Leia shakes her head.
Stop!
Surprisingly, Vader and Obi-Wan both halt their attacks, their lightsabers hovering over their heads as they prepare to strike at one another.
Princess, you must get out of here.
Enough. We have some sort of agreement with Lord Vader. It seems like there's nothing to fear.
You will let us go?
Most of you. I require one of you for insurance.
Absolutely not.
Why is that? We have an agreement, and I expect you to honor it. However, I put my life at stake by helping you. I need to be certain that when I arrive on Dantooine, I will not find it abandoned. You rebel scum have been quite adept at running away. So, the boy remains here until our deal is complete.
If you think I'll allow that, then you truly are mad.
No, I agree. Listen, I'm not royalty, so I'm not as valuable as a hostage. If this station is as dangerous as the two of you claim it is, then you need to report it to the Rebel Alliance immediately. If this is the best way to do it, then I say let's go for it.
A wise move.
The others stare at Luke, but it is clear his mind is made up, and they can do nothing more than simply nod and accept it. Obi-Wan lingers behind and glares at the Sith.
I don't know what you're planning, Vader, but know this. Their lives matter to me. Yours does not.
That makes two of us.
Without much choice, the rest of the team leaves Luke behind as Vader grabs him by the shoulders and steers him towards the bridge, where he announces that he has captured this rebel trying to cover the others' escape. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to stop the others. He says that he wishes to interrogate the boy and lead a squadron to follow after Leia. Tarkin initially seems amused by this, but this failure doesn't just reflect badly on Vader. It is also embarrassing for him, as if this information gets out, it may give his enemies leverage to try and turn the situation on him. Reluctantly, Tarkin agrees, and a squadron of Star Destroyers is sent to go after the rebels. Vader personally takes command of those forces and sets a course for Dantooine. Luke Skywalker sits inside the chamber with Darth Vader. The air is colder here, heavy with silence and unspoken truths. Luke stands still, his hand near the blaster at his side. He doesn't reach for it. Vader watches him from the far side of the room, arms crossed, cape draped like a shroud of night.
You're not afraid.
I should be, but I'm not.
Good. Fear clouds judgment unless it is moderated, but so does ignorance. Now sit down. You know what the Empire truly is. A rotten beast held together by fear and pride. The Emperor pretends to control it, but he cannot even hold a Senate without threats. His only true power lies in deception, in shadows, and the military. But for years I have slowly wrestled it away from him. Still, this Death Star is the last desperate grab at power, one that we cannot allow him to fulfill.
Yet you serve him.
I once served him because he promised me things he never delivered. He promised me power, and the chance to create a stronger unification of peace and order. But all I see is endless war. You are strong, boy. Far stronger than you know. The Force surrounds you, but it requires training. I can help you achieve that.
You want to destroy him?
Yes. He will destroy the galaxy before he surrenders his rule. And with the Death Star, he holds more power than any Sith in history. But you can stop him. You and that princess. If you let me train you as my apprentice, we can overcome the Emperor together. Replace him with someone else. Someone who does not build his rule on the fantasy of superweapons or the backing of madmen like Tarkin.
Us?
You, Leia, and I. Together. Father, daughter, and son.
The words hang in the air like a thunderclap. That cannot be true. It must not be true. He was told that his father died, and yet the way Vader says that is so compelling that he nearly believes it. Luke shakes his head and tries to look over at him.
You're lying.
No. I knew it the moment I saw you. It took me time to realize it, but I sense your presence. It is so similar. You bear Padme's light and Skywalker's fire. The Force doesn't lie, Luke.
You killed my father.
I am your father.
Silence. Luke stares at him now, not as an enemy, but as something stranger, a man pulled apart between two destinies.
If what you say is true, then help us. You can be better than the Emperor. Forget about this plan. We can restore democracy just as Leia wants. We can make the galaxy better.
We shall, but under our rule. I buried that light long ago.
You didn't. If you had, you would have killed me already.
Vader doesn't respond. He turns his back, and they begin their lessons. The Dark Lord begins to instruct Luke in the ways of harnessing the Force. He shows him how to begin harnessing it and how to strengthen his power, and how to focus that same power into feats of incredible strength. But he doesn't shy away from using his emotions. He shows Luke how to harness his anger and doubt, his fear and rage when in combat. All of these are fuel, meant to strengthen him and show him what the Force can truly do. Luke listens carefully to all of these lessons, trying to avoid some of the more intense and violent suggestions of Vader, but he sees their underlying value. He begins to harness the Force. It comes slowly at first, but Luke begins to get the hang of it. By the time they arrive on Dantooine, Luke has fairly sharper skills on the Force, but when the ship drops out of hyperspace, they find the Rebel fleet waiting for them. Their flagships point turbo lasers at them, while starfighters wait to swarm them and break apart their formation. At the bridge of these ships, Leia stands alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi. Leia's fingers reach for their weapons at their side. A lightsaber was given to her by the former Jedi. She has some training with the Force and lightsaber combat from the Jedi General, but she knows that facing off against Vader will be difficult if he decides to betray them. The Imperial officers aboard the Imperial fleet request permission to fire at the rebels, but Vader orders them to belay it. Meanwhile, he secretly contacts the commanders of the 501st and orders them to take action. While the Imperial officers may be loyal to Tarkin, the Legion is fully loyal to Vader. Once the signal is given, the Imperials begin marching through the ship's hallway and then storm through the halls, arresting the Imperials and naval crewmen. Luke insists that they be spared, and Vader reluctantly gives in to his son's wishes, executing those who resist. As the first reports come in, Vader ignites his saber and points his lightsaber at the crewmen, who stare at the weapons in surprise. Luke also has his blaster ready, and then begins to confiscate their weapons. Most can only look in surprise as Vader makes an announcement. The naval crewmen are to stand down immediately and relinquish control of the fleet, and those who surrender will be treated fairly. Many choose to surrender rather than risk the wrath of Vader. With their ship secure, Leia at last boards the flagship to meet with the Dark Lord. She sees the aftermath of the coup and is surprised to see Luke standing beside Vader, a lightsaber at the side of his belt.
So, what is your plan exactly? You have your fleet and the Rebel Alliance's attention. I hope this is worth the trouble you've caused.
It has. This fleet represents most of the Death Star's defense fleet. Without it, the space station shall be vulnerable. If we attack with all our strength, we may be able to capture it.
That is your plan? Capturing the Death Star? You said you wish to prevent the Death Star from falling into the Empire's hands. Nothing good can come from this.
I said I wished to prevent it from falling into the Emperor's hands. His plans with it are foolish, but a weapon like this certainly has its uses. Even with the forces I command, we do not have the means to take the Empire. But with a weapon like that, we can burn their fleets to the cinder.
Or burn their worlds. That is a power that shouldn't be in anyone's hands.
You are just as mad as I remembered. If you do this, you will condemn the galaxy to an eternity of war.
Listen to them, Vader. Things will not work out the way you think they will if you go through with this.
This is my final offer. If you do not accept it, then I have no choice but to slay the Rebel Alliance, here and now.
As if on command, the stormtroopers immediately aim with their blasters. The rebels realize they have little choice and agree to these terms. But when Vader turns to his children, he does not sense excitement at the opportunity to defeat the Emperor, only disappointment. It hurts more than he realizes, and he looks down, for the first time questioning his actions, but remains silent as he sets a course, reporting he has captured the rebels. The stars stretch across the viewport as the fleet reverts from hyperspace. Vader's flagship, flanked by stolen Imperial cruisers and scattering of rebel ships, emerge from the Death Star. The station looms ahead, silent, massive, and waiting. But something's wrong. Sensors light up. Another Imperial fleet, larger than expected, has already arrived.
He knew. They were waiting for us.
Tarkin must have contacted him. Of course, the coward comes running to his master the moment danger appears.
As if to confirm his words, a chilling presence floods the Force. Ancient, suffocating, familiar.
He is here. The Emperor.
The bridge goes silent.
We must change the plan. If the Emperor is here, we must destroy the station. We cannot take him out and the Death Star.
No. I will not be denied my revenge. We go in.
Once they're within range, turbo lasers ignite across space. Star destroyers open fire on both Rebel and Rogue Imperial ships. Explosions ripple as the fighters deploy in droves to try and strike at the Imperial fleet. Among them is Han, who leads the charge. Vader boards his own starfighter alongside Luke, and though both wish to join the firefight, he knows where they can do the most damage.
Prepare your ships. I will lead the assault team to the station's core. We disable its systems, shut down the super laser, and take control.
Neither does Luke, but the time for arguments has passed. Instead of splitting off to attack the surrounding Imperial ships, their squadron forms a wedge and charges straight into the main hangar. Escorts and a group of Imperial transports carrying elite Rebel troopers and stormtroopers. Landing in a shuttle flanked by elite troops, loyal to only him, Vader leads Luke and Leia through the steel corridors of the hangar as blaster fire rains all around them. The three have their lightsabers out and begin to deflect blaster fire as Vader advances ahead, throwing aside the first wave of guards with a flick of his hand. Stormtroopers are slaughtered after being slammed into bulkheads, struck with debris or blasted aside by force shockwaves. And those are the lucky ones. Those who manage to get close face the lightsaber of Vader, who effortlessly cuts them down, his expression grim as he works. Around him, the rebels in the 501st fan out and deal with most of the guards while Luke and Leia protect him, keeping close and watching their father work. That's when he stops. Palpatine steps out at the end. The Emperor stands alone, draped in shadows, robes pooling like smoke at his feet. His eyes gleam yellow beneath the hood.
So, the traitor arrives, with his legacy in tow.
The moment they ignite their blades, the Force slams into them, an invisible tidal wave. They crash into the walls. Palpatine barely lifts a hand.
Children playing with fire. Did you think yourselves strong enough to face me? You disappoint me, Lord Vader. All that I gave you, wasted on sentiment.
Not sentiment. Your replacement.
He suddenly springs forward, lightsaber crashing down, but Palpatine whirls and catches it. He laughs and then pushes Vader back, his grace unparalleled despite his age. His apprentice barely brings his lightsaber to a halt as attack, but the Force sends him skidding against the wall. Pulling back, he tries to stab at Vader, but he manages to dodge it, barely. Luke and Leia take this as a chance to attack, and they both spring forward, raining down strikes. Yet to Palpatine, these seem clumsy as he easily bats them aside. Then, when they try to press close from either side, he laughs and sweeps his weapon in a wide arc, sending them flying back. He follows with a torrent of lightning that leaves them both on their knees. But a roar takes his attention away from them as Vader lunges forward, lightsaber crashing down and grazing Palpatine's side. He whirls back from the next strike and brings his lightsaber up to defend himself. Vader whirls, throwing his cape in front of him to distract Palpatine before stabbing forward. The Emperor leaps back, but then just as quickly goes on the offensive yet again. He chuckles and then sweeps his lightsaber in an uppercut, slashing at Vader's chest, leaving his armor sparking. But Vader manages to prevent the attack from worsening. However, Luke and Leia soon join in, and the three press him from all sides. For a moment, it seems like they might overwhelm him. They rain down attacks on him, but Palpatine's lightsaber appears whenever their weapons fall. Though they have a few close calls, none of them manage to break him. But when all three prepare to attack at once, he sends his arms out and throws them back. Luke keeps his footing, but Palpatine sidesteps the attack and then slams the hilt of his lightsaber and knocks him back. Then he knees Leia and sends her stumbling aside.
Father, we can't win. Not like this. We have to destroy the station.
We must change our plan. Please.
Vader hesitates and blocks another swing as Palpatine tries to strike him. But even Vader feels his power starting to weaken. He looks over at them and can see the exhaustion in his children. They simply had not had enough training for this. In their pain, in their defiance, in their unity, he sees Padme. For the first time, his purpose falters. He cares little for the galaxy, but for these two. He knows they will perish here. With a sweep of his cloak, he throws it at Palpatine before using the Force to reach for a trooper's grenade. He hurls it towards Palpatine. Though the Emperor absorbs the explosion, it sends him skidding back, giving them time to escape. The Millennium Falcon is ready to pick Leia up, while Luke and Vader hop onto their starfighters. Luke jumps into his X-Wing, his hands trembling, and Vader boards his TIE Advanced, silent and furious. As the Death Star begins to turn its super laser toward Dantooine's fleet, the three ships streak forward together, Skywalker blood burning through the void. Orders are sent out to target the exhaust port, ordering all starfighters to target this area. But as they make their run, point defense fire comes raining down upon them, and many ships go up in flames. Vader guides Luke through the trench. Leia takes out turrets ahead with pinpoint precision, yet their escort is slowly thinned out by concentrated fire of the Death Star's defense systems and the TIE fighters. Meanwhile, the three of them dodge and weave through the massive spires and towers that protect the exhaust port. The few ships that do not manage to reach the trench take aim and fire. Most of their shots miss, forcing them to break off or be destroyed. Luke lines up the shot.
Trust your instincts. Let go of everything else.
He pulls back and engages a squad of TIE fighters pursuing them. Leia continues to provide covering fire. Luke breathes, fires. The torpedoes vanish into the exhaust port. A heartbeat later, the Death Star explodes. A star ignites, and the darkness begins to break. Cheers erupt in the Rebel fleet as they watch the explosion. Luke, Vader, and Leia lead the remaining starfighters back to the fleet where they regroup. With the Empire's greatest weapon and its leadership gone, a power vacuum forms, one filled by Vader. He remains a familiar figure and one of the most prominent surviving members of the Empire. This allows him to frighten most Imperials to kneel while working with the Rebel Alliance. He works with Leia and Luke, teaching them about the Force so they may continue his legacy. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan maintains a watchful eye on the pair, and though it takes much time, they slowly bring Vader back into the light. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.